What's going on, world? This is your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, and today I'm pretty elated. Something very special is going to happen at Inman Connect, and I have the opportunity to work with Matterport. So that is a biggie for me because they are a global company, and today I was able to get one of their very important people to come over here to tell us more about how we as real estate professionals can leverage Matterport. Today, I have Amir Frank with me. Hey, Amir, how are you today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. And you are the marketing manager, right?
That is correct.
And I know that as real estate professionals, I often joke with realtors, but I'm dead serious. Secret agents don't get found. And not too long ago, I was out in California and I invested in an Insta360 camera. And every time I use this camera, I generate leads. What is Matterport?
That's a good question. so, and interesting that you should bring up the Insta360. So, Matterport is a platform that allows you to host spaces online. And with regards to real estate, what that means is you get a chance to not only show, simple photographs of a property, but really give the visitor a very complete look at what this property is all about. How the kitchen relates to the living room and where those are in position to the bedrooms and where everything is. You have a very, very complete look at the property.
So you said simple photos and a complete look. So I have an Insta360 camera. Is this 360, 3D, 4D? Like where are we? Because it looks like architectural drawings and renderings that give depth. What type of I guess technology, or is it 360? Is it 3D? Which one which one is
So,
it?
so the Insta360 by itself is a 360 camera.
Okay.
It'll take a spherical image of what you see. When you combine that with Matterport, you actually, what we can do is take that 360 image, that spherical image, and convert it to 3D data. So you do end up with a dollhouse look of the property.
And when I'm looking at the properties, I'm able, right, if I'm correct, I can physically or online, it still gives the physical feel, which is kind of strange. I'm able to kind of walk through this property and go from one room to another, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you can completely walk through it from one room to another, moving from kind of spherical view to spherical view, looking all around, as well as get a point of view that no camera can essentially get, which is the dollhouse, is the 360 or 3D dollhouse.
And what I've
That's where the true
noticed,
3D comes in.
the true 3D comes in. What I've noticed, because a lot of realtors will say, well, I don't know why I need this Insta360 camera. I have all these photos. I have all these videos. And the way that I describe it to real estate professionals is that consumers want control. So if I'm filming something, I direct your eye to a certain point in time. But with 360, regardless to what I direct you to, that other person can go off and wander on their own, and they can see completely anything that's going on by simply touching the screen and rotating it so they could see the ceiling, the floor. If I was angling this way, but it was a picture of the kitchen and I talk about the ocean view, and they like, oh, forget the kitchen, I want to see the ocean view, they get to pan
Yeah.
over. So how long has Matterport been in existence?
So Matterport's been around since 2011, and I believe we sold our first camera in 2014.
So it's relatively new.
Relatively new.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so when we think about as an agent, because I know that you have cameras, I think that you've developed some partnerships where people don't necessarily have to use your camera. If
Right.
I am a new agent and I just got my first listing, what would be one of the first things I would do in order to engage Matterport to get this listing sold quickly?
So as an agent, like you said, first listing, a really, really good way of getting your feet wet, as opposed to investing in a $3,000 camera, is get yourself a $400 camera like the Insta360, and use that to capture the space. And it really, because it's just a single shot to capture the entire 360, it moves along pretty fast. So you just kind of place the camera down, you take a snapshot, you move it about 5 feet, take another snapshot, and keep going that way throughout the entire property. And you can see in the application as it slowly fleshes out the entire property. And like you said, the difference is the ability for the visitor to control themselves, go where they want, control it how they want.
So you said move every 5 feet. So just so that I can kind of get an idea from a creation standpoint, let's say that I have a 10-room house. So we're going to have 10 rooms. And let's say that my rooms are 12 by 12. They're all 12 by 12. In a 12 by 12 room, in order to accurately capture that room, how many times would I need to move inside of a 12 by 12 space to capture every element?
12 by 12 space, it somewhat depends on the furnishings in the room, but for the most part, you would need maybe 4 scan positions top, something like that.
So 4 scan.
You don't want to completely into the corner of the room, like with traditional photography, because again, you do see the full 360. So you want it about maybe 5 to 6 feet away from the walls and edges of the room. So you have kind of 4 towards the center of the room. And that'll get you a very complete kind of rendering of that space. Each scan position, like I said, takes maybe 3 to 5 seconds.
Okay.
Something like that.
So I have 4 scans per room. I have 10 rooms. So we're looking at essentially 40 scans. So if I was new to this and I'd never done it before, just kind of fumbling around with the technology, I could essentially do an entire house on that first go round that was 10 rooms, probably in an hour. And then from there, I can start cutting down on that time the more that I play with it. Is that kind of accurate?
I think so. Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. Yeah.
Okay, so when we start thinking about from a time standpoint, let's say I forego that expensive, the more expensive camera, right?
Yeah.
What is there a monthly charge? Do I pay per property? How does that work inside of Matterport?
So there is a monthly charge for hosting your models.
Okay.
So basically, when you create a model, you upload it to the cloud, it processes and churns and whatnot, and then out comes a complete model of your property. For $69 a month, you can have 25 of those active at any given time. So that's pretty substantial, I think, for real estate, especially considering once the house has been sold, you can archive that model. That'll free up space for the next one.
Okay, so 25 active is pretty much what you're saying at any given time at $69 a month. So really the true investment is in the camera.
The true investment is in the camera. Yeah.
Okay, because monthly, especially if I'm doing multi-million-dollar properties and we're able to physically like walk through these properties online, see the depth and dimension of the furniture, of the appliances, of the views, really it's given us a great experience. I know that if I looked at utilizing this for lead conversion, you have a 1 in 50 chance of converting people you've never met versus a 1 in 6 chance for people you have met. And the only thing that gets us closer to the 1 in 6 versus the 1 in 50 is if we start bringing in videos and photography and allow people to see themselves inside of that space. So I find that to be a very reasonable cost. I talk a lot about social media and technology. So now I have these renderings, right? And it took about 5 seconds. How are you encouraging real estate professionals outside of hosting on the platform? Are there any tips, tricks? Well, let's take this step. Let me come back a step. so I have my 360 camera, right? And there's one thing, I don't have any sitting on my desk. A lot of times people don't realize that their lenses are dirty, right?
Right.
So I'm telling people the very first thing I like people to do is to wipe their lens off. I actually have cases of screen wipes up here. I went to Costco the other day and I bought 16 of them in order to give away. It's how many? 75 per pack. So I've never done this before. I'm new to the whole 3D imaging. What are some of the tips and tricks before I even get started that I, as a real estate professional, would need to know other than make sure I got a clean screen or a clean lens on the device? Are
Okay.
there, yeah.
So when you are creating a model of the property, you're thinking about two things. One is completely fleshing out as much of that property as possible in 3D. And then two is the navigation for the visitor. So when you have a visitor coming through, they can only kind of step into where you had the camera. So you want to make sure that your lines kind of stay straight through hallways. You don't kind of jump around. Make sure you take the full corner as opposed to cutting the corners, things like that. So what you don't necessarily need is to start at the front door. Initially, you are creating a 3D model, not a tour. Once that's done and been processed and is in your account, then that's when you go and then you tell the system where the start location is. That could be scan number 20, it could be any scan, it doesn't matter. And you can create a highlight reel to virtually walk the visitor through the space.
Okay, so you pointed out something. This is a 3D model, not a tour. Okay.
Correct.
So what it might be advantageous, I got this from Dustin Brome, to start with the most interesting element in the property.
So initially, as you're scanning, actually best practice is start at any corner and the lowest level. So if you've got a multi-story house, start at the lowest level. If it's the basement, be at the basement. If it's the first floor, that's fine, ground floor. But the lowest level, and at any one of the corners. It doesn't have to be at the stairs. And you kind of scan your way, do like a snaking path of aligned scan positions across, making your way to the opposite corner of the space of that floor. And then you can pick up the camera, go to the base of the stairs, and continue scanning your way up the stairs and just do the second floor and so on. So it's just a matter of really fleshing out the property in a 3D model.
Now, one thing that you stated before was that we want to keep straight lines. So I'm assuming that I would mount this to like a tripod and I would have all my settings locked down, all my lengths locked down. So then it would be that same line on every single floor. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be holding the camera. You actually have it on a tripod. It's a very small, very lightweight tripod, not a traditional tripod. And you just pick it up, move it. The application has a button. You go hide somewhere, press the button, camera takes a snapshot, and you move on.
Oh, is that a remote shutter?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a remote shutter. So we're going to start at the lowest level at any corner and then move up. First floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, see, these are different tips that, you know, we would not take in normal photography.
Right. It is. Yeah, it's a little different than traditional photography, right? And you have to just keep in mind that while you can place the camera in positions that will allow you to grab a snapshot like you would with traditional photography, generally speaking, for the 3D model and the tour later on, you don't want to shove the camera all the way in the corner of the room. Again, because it's a full 360, 180 degrees of your view is just two walls.
Okay, I got you. Doom. So pull it out a little bit, so then it can actually rotate all the way. It gets full rotation as opposed to just focusing on, I would assume, that left corner or
right. Exactly.
Whatever these
So
points
as
come
the
together.
user, exactly right. As the user is turning themselves around, looking at different positions, they don't end up looking at a wall that's 2 inches away from them.
Yeah. You did just like that. That's exactly what they would do in the corner. Okay. And so we're going to keep the straight line, utilizing the tripod, lowest level, come out from that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other best practices and what to do before?
That's really pretty much it.
And what shouldn't we do other than put ourselves or position ourselves in the corner?
Yeah, other than position yourselves in the corner, it pretty much does everything for you. There's not a whole lot. Yeah, it's a very, very automated system. So there's really not a whole lot of technical or photographic knowledge that you need in order to operate the system. The only thing I guess I would recommend is to, like I said, best practice is to start at the lowest level and kind of work your way across that level and then go up and kind of keep an order of things as opposed to jumping around. I know that's a little difficult sometimes with people being on one level and then you have to, so if they're in your shot, you got to, move somewhere else. But the way it builds, it has to kind of build on itself. So the first location, the first snapshot that you capture is kind of scan position number one. Everything builds from there. So you can't just, from the basement jump to level 2 because there's somebody on level 1. You have to scan your way up.
So as it pertains to the stairs, how do we navigate that? Are we doing anything on any given stair, or do we kind of end it off at, not in a corner, but kind of away from the stairs to kind of be able to get that shot of leading up the stairs?
So you want to grab the staircase. That definitely needs to be part of it. You would do, I would say, maybe 2, no more than 3 steps at a time. So you start at the base, you have a scan shot there, keep it in the center of the staircase, move up 2 to 3 steps, take another snapshot, another 2 to 3 steps, another snapshot. It needs that kind of not as much distance, kind of that little bit so that you can later navigate your way up the stairs. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see that snapshot at the top from all the way at the bottom.
That makes sense. Okay. Is there anything around the lighting? Because like normally if I'm dealing with regular photography, I want the light behind the camera. Is there any special lighting techniques when utilizing Matterport?
Generally, the more light, the better. Turn them all on. It does capture the full 360, right? So you're not really going to have the opportunity to hide lights and things like that. Yeah, it is HDR, so it's going to do the best it can to optimize the outdoor scene with the indoor scene and things like that, but within reason.
Okay. So I followed the instructions. Is my device talking directly to my computer, or am I downloading? Is there a slim card that lets you know? I'd probably need to update my wording here. But how am I transporting that information to get it into your application?
So you're using the Wi-Fi generated by the camera. The camera actually generates its own little Wi-Fi network. And you're connecting to that either using your iPad or iPhone. And once you've got that connection, you can control the camera from that point. So you are downloading a Matterport application. It's free. It's called Capture. So you download that to your device. Once you're connected to the camera's Wi-Fi, you just launch that app and create yourself a new model, hit scan, and move on.
Is this also good with Droid? Can I use it with Google Play?
Unfortunately, not yet. We only have iOS application right now. We're working on it.
Okay, iOS. So now here's my sad part. I am an Android user, right? However, I purchased an iPad years ago because I train so many realtors. I need to talk their language, and so I keep the iPad just to understand what's going on in the iOS, right? And so I got you with. So the app is Capture. Is that CAPTURE?
Correct.
Okay, so we got the Capture app. Okay, so everything is talking to one another. And I'm assuming that I have to do a little bit of editing to make sure that everything is laid out the way that I would want it laid out.
It's not editing in the sense like you would with photography or video. There's no timeline per se, but you can put what I like to call icing on your cake. So once you've got your model baked and it's gone through the processing engine, you can use an online tool that we have available once you have your account. It's called Showcase Edit. And you can use that to create a highlight reel. You can embed matter tags. You can embed videos and other photos into your model.
So let's say, for instance, I've completed my model, yet I did a broker's tour and we did a Facebook Live video. And I had a couple of agents talk about how marvelous this listing was. Are you saying that I could take essentially that 4D video and come and maybe take a minute clip? And when we get to the same room they were in, I could put that minute clip of video inside of the Matterport tour?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
So,
freaking awesome.
for example, a good, excuse me, a good use case may be adding a matter tag at the entryway to the home with a video embedded of you as the realtor introducing yourself, introducing the home, and you know what to look out for, things like that. You can also have a matter tag highlighting granite countertops with information about it. You can even link to downloadable brochures. I mean, just about anything. So it's pretty powerful.
Now I'm thinking of a couple of other things that we could do, because I do Alexa flash briefings, how we could even bring in maybe Alexa into the mix, where they could ask Alexa for additional information on the property at different points. So yeah, oh yeah, Marky, come on now, come through. I'm digging all this. Okay. So that's pretty robust, because you know
Yeah.
what I was thinking? I'm just thinking it's nothing but the property. So we get to make the property more engaging by bringing in these other highlights and tools.
Exactly.
Okay. So I've taken some time to not edit, but enhance, right? You said the icing on the cake, to add icing
Exactly.
on the cake to make my map. Do you call it a rendering? What
It's
the final
a
product?
model. It's a
Model.
3D model. Yeah.
Okay, so to make my 3D model, so I have my 3D model, I've added a video highlight. How are you recommending to really, how many different ways could one utilize their 3D model online in order to get more eyes on them in the property?
Okay. So you can embed it into your own website or landing page. If you have a landing page, 123mainstreet.com, you can actually have it embedded in there. Um, you can download any number of the 360 spherical scans to use as, for example, teasers in Facebook advertisement, campaigns, things like that. So when you have it uploaded to Facebook, a visitor can actually turn around the full 360. They don't just see a small snapshot in their news feed. They can see the full 360. So a lot more information there. What else? You can offer the link. The link you can offer anywhere, really. That's just a simple link that anyone can use on any social media site to link, open up a new tab, and view the property.
Is the 3D model, what's the final format? Is that a MP4?
No, it's not. It's online. So you have to be online. It's not something that the model itself can't be downloaded to somebody's computer, for example. You need to be online to see it. The only way to see it offline is to download it to another application that we have called Showcase, iOS Showcase.
And
and that allows you,
I'm sorry.
That's an iOS app. So what that's going to allow you to do as a real estate agent, you can meet up with your client at a coffee shop or whatever, if let's say you can't depend on their Wi-Fi, so you have these models already in your phone or iPad, and you can present them to the client. The client basically says, you know what, let's go visit this one and this one, but that one, and that one, don't waste my time. I don't like them. And you save yourself a lot of time that way.
Oh, okay. So I can showcase in the app. If not, then from the land, I can embed it. If not, then essentially like on things like the Facebook, I'm sending, is it the link? So I'm a little confused because, I'm used to downloading everything MP4 and loading.
Right.
Are they clicking on the link coming back to the Matterport site in order to view it?
If you're talking about providing like emailing or texting somebody a link, yeah, so they're going to basically, it's going to be a showcase link that anybody can click on and be able to access the model online. It just opens up in any web browser.
Oh, well, that's good information. So I know that I'm doing a session on Instagram, and in Instagram right now, we have Instagram stories, we have IGTV, and then we also have the Instagram feed. With those three different things, how are you encouraging real estate professionals to leverage Instagram?
So Instagram is a little bit more complicated because they don't, they no, it's all right. It's a huge platform and super important to use, but because they don't support 360 or spherical cameras in the same way, you can't just click and drag to move your way around that panorama. There are tools that I've seen that allow you to break up the panorama into multiple images, so that when you just click the story in Instagram, you just move from one to the next. And that's how you kind of see the full 360 degrees. You just move between images. So that's one thing that can be done. But primarily, I would say from Instagram, it would be linking to a proper model online, you know.
Yeah, I'm going right now. I'm over on Matterport on Instagram, and a couple of things that I'm seeing right here are, and let me see if I can show this, would be like those 3D renderings and drawings. Let me switch the phone that way. That's pretty good. And so they're using it more probably from a photography standpoint than from the video standpoint. And I'm seeing on another one, they've actually taken multiple shots just to kind of give you a overview of what the floor plan would look like. This seems like to be one level. So they took multiple scans and basically did this as a carousel post over on Instagram. So I'm seeing definitely some of the ways. Oh, you know what? Now let me ask you this question. What technology did they use for that? Could you see the video?
So that is what you're looking at there is basically the highlight reel. It's either the highlight reel or automatically as your model is, this would be the highlight reel for sure because it's got things in it. So you can actually create, I hate to call it a video because it's not a timeline that has you fixed. You can pause and kind of move off in your own direction if you want at any time, but it is a highlight reel, which means you're grabbing what we call snapshots or highlights from any position in your model, and then you can kind of place those in a timeline format, and that is essentially virtually walking the visitor through the space. You can show them things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to see, like you pointed out, the floor plan view and the dollhouse view, which are things that you can't do with photography. So you need a 3D model for that.
Need a 3D model. And then I know some people are going to listen to this on podcast, so I'm going to encourage them to watch the video. This is your camera right here, isn't it?
Yes.
And they're showing the iPad app along with the camera. So
Correct.
I know that you have your own camera, and I mentioned that I have the Insta360. How many different cameras are enabled to work with Matterport?
Currently, we have 3 spherical cameras, the Insta360, Ricoh Theta V, and the Z. And we have our camera, the Matterport Pro 2, which is kind of like a nice mid-range camera. It's going to be a little bit more accurate in the 3D realm. And then there is Leica BLK360, which is generally used in construction, architecture, things like that. It's wicked accurate. In terms of 3D, it uses lasers, which are cool.
Oh yeah, that's wicked accurate. Yeah. And then I just came across, I think that's your picture right there. That's you next to the camera. So I came across you inside of your Instagram news feed. And so that's pretty interesting. So with that rendering that we saw at the very end, I could essentially use that. I'm guesstimating not only inside of the feed, but I could also use that for Instagram stories and also for IGTV, and then always add my Matterport link back to Matterport. So here would be the question. If I pay for the monthly subscription, right, where I'm able to house 25 3D models, do I have like a dedicated link? Like, would it be matterport.com/Marky Lemons where people could come and see everything?
No, there's nothing like that. We don't, I mean, unless of course you kind of provide your own, that would be on your own landing page, and you would be able to embed your models on yours, but nothing through Matterport. It's just one by one.
One by
They're
one.
each kind of identified with their own special ID.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm always thinking, how do we leverage all these wonderful tools for lead generation purposes? And you mentioned landing pages a couple of times, which I encourage realtors to definitely have their own landing page. And the beauty is, because you give them the embed code, they could create a different landing page for every last property. Either they could bring them back to the Matterport site, or they could embed that Matterport 3D model into a landing page for the purposes of lead generation. Maybe they have a PDF copy of all the property information or different grants and finance options available for that property, because I think that we should control our own leads. What are some other tips in regards to 3D model? Because you're a relatively newer company, but you've come in and you've dominated essentially in that space. Is there any other great tips that you can give to the real estate community about Matterport or 3D imaging for that matter, since it's kind of new and you kind of like the bomb inside of that space?
Yeah, so basically I would recommend to take as much advantage of the virtual property as possible. Once you have a model, your client can go visit that space, that property, as many times as they want before making their decision. So you don't have to be there. You can be with somebody else. You know, you're almost cloning yourself, making things just a lot more efficient for yourself, not only in the way that I mentioned before, by really, you know, being able to hone in on the properties that a client is going to want to visit, but also being able to tell them, hey, the door's always open. You know, this is a huge purchase, right? This is the biggest purchase somebody's going to make in their lifetime. They're probably going to want to see it more than once before making that decision. And so you don't have to be there every time to unlock the door.
I've just thought about a couple of other ideas for those who are really big in the international property sales. This would be great when you know that you sell properties to people who often don't physically visit the property, maybe even with investors and other marketplaces. But when you have multiple people buying a property, as opposed to trying to get everyone's schedule to coordinate at the same time, some of those people might be able to see it via Matterport, and a couple of people see it right physical in real time. But I love what you said, the door is always open, right?
Yeah.
And so that's pretty awesome, because this space is kind of new to me, and I kind of ignored it until I saw the 360 camera demonstrated. I was at a event out in California, and so I came home, and the first problem I personally had was with that the Insta360. It plugs into the charging port, right, on my phone. And I couldn't get in my mind that I was going to hold my phone upside down, right? And so I delayed the purchase because I'm like, well, that thing can't work right. Not realizing that the app would actually rotate the phone to record properly. And since I started using it, I'm getting so much great engagement on everything that I'm creating with it. One, because it's different, but then two, I encourage people to swipe to the left, swipe to the right. Look at any way you want to look at it. So it's also engaging that consumer to view it the way that they desire to view it.
Yeah, which is not what we've been trained to do, right? We're just so used to 2D photography that this is what I get. But clearly there's no more.
Yeah.
So there's a process in educating that.
Wow. You know, Amir, you have been awesome, because I needed a lot more information on Matterport, but really anytime that I'm going to hold a session, I want to make sure that I can give people additional tips and tricks on the platform, how they can use it, the value of it. So I understood the value just from me engaging with a 360 camera. I've watched some great people on YouTube who love Matterport, who talk about the ease and kind of demonstrated, but I like to come in and talk and share with my people my own little tidbits and how to leverage it, because one thing that I'm clear about is that photos and videos are the most engaging form of content. That as real estate professionals, we should have the blue ocean strategy, not always do what everyone else does, but think innovatively and outside of the box and bring in emerging technology. How would one connect with you, find Matterport? Is there any additional online tools and resources that you have for Realtor members so that they can get started?
Yeah, so we have, if you basically go to support.matterport.com, there is a vast amount of information there. You can find just about everything about how to use it, how to get started with it, how to contact the support team if you need to, if you do run into trouble. But yeah, support.matterport.com is a really, really good resource.
Well, thank you so very much. Support.matterport.com is where you can go to start engaging and give consumers what they want. It is not about us as real estate professionals. It is always about consumers. And if you're creating landing pages, you can embed the Matterport into those landing pages for lead generation. I believe that every real estate professional should add 2,880 contacts to their customer relationship management system for every $100,000 they want to earn. Matterport is definitely a tool that one would embrace at a higher price point, or to demonstrate property to people who don't live in close proximity, or as Amir has put it, to keep the door always open. Thank you guys for listening to Social Selling Made Simple. I'm your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, and I am elated that Amir had the time to join us today. See you soon.